What is happening, boys? Turbo Toys here. But you can call me Turbo, and today we're going to find out that I'm not just content with collecting mainline toy lines, and sometimes there's always someone who wants to get in on the success and cash in with bootleg replicas. But with that being said, I'm an avid collector of a few of these bootleg figures, whether it be anything from Star Wars or even to wrestling. And many different wrestling toy lines have got rip-off figures, but this video we're going to focus on the Mattel bootlegs. So let's start off with a banger, and honestly these figures are so bad, they're brilliant. So we're going to start off with Batista, or as this figure is now going to be known, Fake Tista. So this figure's kind of based off the Elite Series 6, but unfortunately I don't have that figure in my collection to compare him with. Now the attires ain't the same, but this figure does share the same attire that comes on the best of the 2010 basic Mattel figure. And every Batista that I have in the collection from Elite Series 30 up doesn't give you an accurate representation because he has more tattoo design work. But however, there is a comparison on Google that shows how poor quality this figure is compared to the actual official release version. But nonetheless, let's see how they did. So as we focus on the head, now you can tell that this is Dave Batista. And from the untrained eye, these figures might look like an official release, but when you compare it with the Elite 6, you can tell there's a major difference. So for a start, Fake Tista has no eyebrows, but apart from the head structure, to be honest, the paint apps ain't too bad. What I will say about these figures though is that the decal designs, the tattoos, they've actually done quite a good job. But saying that, however, if you do compare it to the Elite 6, there is no comparison in quality. But again, decent application of the decals on the trunks for the designs front and back. Like if this was on an official release, you wouldn't even batter an eyelid. And then the shameful thing is they've gone with a standard basic Mattel articulation for the boat. There's no pivot, no rocker, you just got the hinge articulation. And I will say the plastic feels very cheap to me. It's like very lightweight in comparison to your normal Elite line WWE Mattel action figure. So what do you guys think? I think it's quite a watered down version of Batista, but my final thoughts are I quite like it, boys. Now moving on to probably the most realistic looking figure of the set. We have this Rey Mysterio Jr., or we'll call him Fake Mysterio Jr. Now there's a bit of a giveaway with the slight variation of skin tone between the torso and the arms, but then again, Mattel have been guilty of doing that themselves. I had actually won this figure in a bundle in an eBay auction before. So my actual thoughts was that it was actually a prototype, and even though this figure does have loose parts, it takes nothing away with the overall look of the finish and how official this figure actually does look. Like for instance, if you take a look at the head scan, then there's no difference to how an early Elite Rey Mysterio looks. The tattoo work on this figure I think is absolutely flawless. I think they've done a really good job. The design on his chest there is probably just as good as any release that Rey Mysterio's had. And I think that's why you could be forgiven to thinking that this figure is actually a prototype. I think even the design work on the attire looks really good. Now I'm not sure where it comes from. I couldn't really find any reference pictures of what attire this actually comes from. So let me know if you know. But yeah, really overall impressed with it. Because as we see, I'm not sure who made these figures, but they really weren't that far. And if anything, the tattoo designs there look a lot better than they do on the actual official release figure. So it swings and roundabouts really. It's not a good thing or a bad thing, but for looks, I do think that this one is the pick of the bunch of the bootleg figures. Let me know what you boys think. But boys, as we move on, look at the state of this figure. What is up with this one? Look at their skin tone. Doesn't even match the arms. Exactly the same thing for his jolts here at the top part. What were they thinking? But for every good bootleg figure, you've got to have a bad one, and I'm sorry, John, but this one is a bad one. I don't know if they blew the budget on Rey Mysterio, but yeah, I feel sorry for him. But all jokes aside, now this is what I love about bootleg figures. This is the character that I love about them. Because even though, on first appearance, this figure does look awful, there is some quite nice things about it. Alright, it's kind of hard to believe when you look at this head scan and the skin tone. It's just ridiculously awful. It's so bad, But despite its flaws, I really like the decal application on this figure. I think it looks class. I think they've done a really good job. It looks like it could have been off the Mattel production line. And then you go on to look at every other detail and you think, maybe not. But they've tried, boys. Honestly, they've tried. They've tried to go with the Elite 3 sneaker. But every time you look at the scan on this figure, it's going to give you nightmares and there's nothing you can do about it. But my overall thoughts on this figure is, if I was to get this as a kid and someone was to give this to me as a present, I think I would actually cry. Right now, this one, boys, I think this one is going to be everyone's favourite disgusting bootleg figure in the bunch. This figure's just so bad, it's just bursting with character. Right, let's get into this one. As we can tell right from the get-go, this figure does not want to stand up. It looks like Warrior's gone out to parts unknown, got himself on the sauce, had a bit of a party, and woke up looking like this. what is going on with this one, boys. Now, what it seems to me is that the head scan is too small for the hairpiece, so that's why it looks like that. But when you look closely, boys, you can just see that it's actually just a poor mould for the hair, and that it's not actually designed to sit right. You could see a big gap behind his fringe, which is just appalling. But you've got to give them the credit, boys, because I noticed, and I don't know if the camera will pick this up, but they've actually put highlights in the hair, so that pretty much makes up for everything. Now, not that there's any comparison, but this figure's based off the Legend Series 4 Ultimate Warrior, which both includes the white trunks, the yellow, white and black wristbands. And being that this was bought on the secondary market, so I'm not actually sure if it comes with it or not, but this one don't actually come with the upper bicep tassels, but at least it has the Yellow Warrior logo on the back of the trunks. And as we move down to take a look at the knee pads, I don't know if you noticed, but this is what I love about these figures, and I think it gives them their character. Both knee pads are left knee pads. And then you look, and what? He's got 2 left feet! What? They've given him 2 left feet! Unbelievable! But this is why, boys, he can't stand up, because he's got 2 left feet. So you'd think he wouldn't be able to dance. And you thought the Batista was bad, but this one don't even come with a hinge on his foot. No wonder he can't stand. And then one of the downers is the ab crunch is so loose, but he can do the Enzo Amore dance. But my final thoughts on this bootleg figure is, it's terrible! Get it away from me! Now, the first 4 was sold on like a site in like Malaysia or something where you could buy them as a set, but one that wasn't included was this Jeff Hardy. For many years before the Entrance Greats release, and any hope of trying to get a Jeff figure was in sight, this was the only Jeff that you could pretty much get on eBay. And it was being sold as like a prototype. It was actually called a prototype to the Elite 1 Jeff Hardy, which never got the release. And that was due to him leaving the company, so basically, if you've got an Elite 1 Jeff Hardy, that was such a rare figure. But as for this figure, like anyone that says that this is a prototype, like honestly, they're lying to themselves. It's so cheaply made. Comparing it to the other figures, it's kind of like made exactly the same. And to be honest, we've seen how Mattel make their prototypes, and it isn't the same as this. Now, before they actually released the Entrance Greats, like this figure was, for a lot of people, everybody thought that this was going to be the only Mattel version of Jeff that we was going to get. So the price point for this figure was ridiculously high at one point, and then they released the Entrance Greats, and a lot of people wouldn't be able to reclaim what they paid, and that's due to there being a lot more decent Jeff Hardys out there now, and this figure weren't as desirable as it once was. Unless you're a Jeff Hardy figure collector, then you'll probably want it in your collection. And as we jump straight into comparisons, we can see that the Entrance Greats one has a lot more detail, not only on the hair, the face paint, but also the tattoos. And I'm pretty sure that the Elite 1 was exactly the same as the Entrance Greats. I could be wrong because I've never had it, so I don't know, but I'm pretty sure. We can see the Entrance Greats has a lot more better detail in the torso. And you can see on his belt design that instead of the studs, he's just got 3 lines. This figure also has his trademark cargo pants. And also his iconic black and white boots. And you can always appreciate when they try and add the detail, but sometimes it's just never good enough. But I think that's what makes these figures that much greater to have in the collection. But boys, I really want to know, did you enjoy that little video of the bootleg collection? Which one of these terrible figures was your favourite? What are your thoughts on bootleg figures? Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, boys. Come and follow me on the Instagrams. Don't be a faker. And until my next video, boys, I will see ya when I see ya.